One of the biggest changes in the travel landscape has been the growth of Airbnb and other property rental services. Like ride sharing, these services have changed the way we book travel and in many situations have made it more accessible to travel further and more affordably. However, there's also no shortage of stories where travelers have been victims of scams. Hey, how's it going everyone? It's Ernest from TripAstute. In this video, I want to share some tips on how to avoid getting scammed by an Airbnb rental and what to do if you find yourself in this situation. Getting scammed is a terrible feeling, and it's even worse when you're traveling on a vacation. A lot of people prefer hotels over Airbnbs since there's generally an expectation of quality that comes with an established hotel or inn. Though it often makes more sense to reserve an Airbnb when you're traveling in a big group or want to get a more local experience. Also, there's some incredible Airbnb properties around the world that can give you a more unique experience. Fiona's sister recently stayed in one in Joshua Tree, and we're hoping to visit soon. It looks amazing. Though with anything, there is a level of risk involved. So today, I want to review how you can improve the odds of having a great Airbnb experience. I'm going to cover 3 main topics. I'll focus on what to look for before arriving, what to do if you think you've been scammed, and also some general tips to keep in mind. But before we get started, if you're new here, welcome to our channel. TripAstute is a travel channel that is focused on sharing ways to make travel easier, affordable, and more enjoyable. Traveling can be stressful and expensive, so we're looking for ways to help you maximize your experience through travel tips, points and miles, and innovative gear. If that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing. Let's start with things that you should look for when booking. These are generally red flags that you'll want to look for prior to arriving. Number 1, listings that are too good to be true. As the old saying goes, if it looks too good to be true, then it probably is. If you're looking through the site and notice a listing that looks incredible for a price that seems unreasonably low, then it should be a red flag. Also, watch out for lavish amenities. While it's possible that your Airbnb has a private hot tub or pool in New York, it's more likely to be a shared or community pool or hot tub. If you have an address or even an idea of a location, it's worth doing a search on Google Maps and investigating the area and building. It's not foolproof, but getting a street level view can help give you an idea of the overall building and look of the neighborhood. Number 2, short or undescriptive listings. Another red flag to watch out for are listings without a lot of information. This also applies to listings without many photos. There have been cases where scammers will get staged open house pictures and post them in fake listings. If you're left wondering what's provided or not shown key parts of the property, then it might be worth listening to your suspicion. Number 3, unresponsive hosts. A common behavior found with scammers is being unresponsive. Most hosts will reach out to you before your arrival and work out any logistical questions or procedures. Most important is knowing how you'll enter the property. If you don't get that information prior to your arrival, then I recommend reaching out to your host. If your host doesn't respond or gives you vague answers, you might want to consider reporting it to Airbnb. Number 4, hosts that ask for your personal contact information. One big red flag is being asked to communicate outside of the Airbnb platform. While it may seem harmless, Airbnb wants you to keep all your communications on its platform. This gives them a record of your conversation in case an issue arises. Also, shady hosts will sometimes ask you to respond to urgent messages via email. As with any email link, you want to be careful when clicking on any links or providing specific information like your login. You could be directed to a spoofed Airbnb site that's meant to steal your information. I think you're better off keeping all your communications on the platform so you can reference them if there's an issue. Number 5, inconsistent reviews and excessive cancellations. Reviews are probably the best way to gauge the credibility of your host. You'll want to spend time reading the reviews for any trends. For example, we stayed at an Airbnb a few months ago and we were surprised by the lack of instructions provided by our host. When we revisited the reviews, it was clear that others had the same issue. We dislike having to figure out how to access and operate some of the key features of the house, like Wi-Fi or the pool. Even though the property had a high rating, it was clear that others shared our frustration. In retrospect, we should have read the reviews more closely to look for potential trends and issues. Another thing to be cautious of are cancellation notifications. If the host canceled their booking, it's recorded in the host's history and reviews. While it doesn't mean that the host is a scammer, it can identify hosts that might be unreliable. The last thing you want is for your host to cancel at the last minute, leaving you without any lodging. So suppose you find out that you've been scammed or you're dealing with a bad host. What should you do? You definitely want to report your issue immediately to Airbnb. Airbnb typically processes and posts your payment to the host 24 hours after you check in. This means that reporting these issues in a timely manner can be critical. Waiting too long could result in a delay in getting a refund, especially if they've processed your payment and released it to the host. Another thing is to document as much as you can. As I mentioned earlier, keeping all your communications on the platform is key for record-keeping purposes. I would also recommend capturing photos and videos that you can provide to Airbnb if you need it for your case. And finally, I want to share some additional tips to keep in mind when booking Airbnb stays. Number 1, check local laws. One risk when booking Airbnb stays is that the laws regarding the use of property rentals can change. Many communities have advocated to restrict Airbnb rentals due to a variety of reasons. Some don't like the presence of strangers in their neighborhoods, while others have concerns how it affects the availability of housing. For example, in cities like Los Angeles, there have been laws put into place for hosts to register their property. Hosts that use a secondary residence for home sharing can only offer rentals that are over 30 nights. It's important to research what laws may affect your rental and verifying with your host if necessary. Again, you don't want to be in a situation where you've arrived only to find out that your booking was canceled due to a violation. Number 2, give hosts an opportunity to resolve issues. While we talked about reporting serious issues to Airbnb, if the issue is minor, I recommend giving the host an opportunity to solve the problem. For example, when we went to Boston a few years ago, we stayed in an old and historic Airbnb property. When I went to the bathroom during the middle of the night, I noticed that there were several centipedes crawling around. I sent a message to our host to report the issue, and she responded immediately and sent someone over the first thing in the morning to resolve it. It turned out that housekeeping hadn't fully closed the bathroom window, which was on the subterranean level, which let the bugs in. Our host not only resolved the issue, but left us a bottle of champagne and a dessert when we got back to the Airbnb. It was a very nice gesture, and we appreciated her responsiveness and generosity. The point of the story is that issues do arise. If it's something that your host can resolve, then it's worth giving them the opportunity to fix it. Like with most customer service situations, the response is often more important than the issue itself. Number 3, use a credit card to make a booking. We did a whole video a while back on why you should always use a credit card instead of a debit card when traveling. This is yet another situation when using your credit card can help in the event that there's a serious issue and you need to request a refund or dispute a charge. If you're not sure why a credit card is safer to use than a debit card, check out our video on the topic. And finally, number 4, build a stash of flexible points. You all know that I love to collect credit card points to help offset the cost of traveling. In fact, it's a big part of what we discuss on this channel. However, having points is also a great insurance policy. In the event that you need to find another lodging option, it can be a lifesaver. We actually encountered a situation a few years ago when we visited Mexico and had an issue with our room. When the hotel refused to resolve the issue, we decided to check out and spend the remainder of our trip at the Andaz Mayakoba. We basically transferred Chase Ultimate Reward points to Hyatt to make the booking, and it ended up being an incredible place to visit. We did a whole video on the Andaz, so check it out if you're interested. Though the key takeaway is that having a stash of flexible points gave us options which can save the day or trip if you encounter a problem. I hope I haven't discouraged anyone from using Airbnb. It's a great service and we've had so many memorable Airbnb stays. I still recommend using Airbnb for stays, but just being mindful of the tips that we shared. Plus, while I love hotel stays too, we've had issues with hotels and resorts as well. You should consider both hotels and Airbnbs when booking trips to see what works best for you. Have you ever experienced an Airbnb issue? Do you have any other tips for staying at one? Please let us know in the comment section below. If you haven't tried Airbnb but are looking to book a stay on your next trip, you can get $40 off your first stay when using our link or code. You can find the link and code in the video description or on our website. As always, we hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. If so, please give us a thumbs up and consider sharing the video with others. It really helps us with growing our channel and community. Until next time, travel safe and travel smart.